fans, welcome to the Muscle Car Modeler. My name is Ral, and this week I wanted to feature a build of another Thunderbird of mine that I built here. This is a 64 Thunderbird convertible, and it was a restoration build, so I'll get more into that. But for 64 of the Thunderbird, it was its fourth incarnation, the third time being redone as a four-seater. The first generation, of course, being the 55 through 57 two-seaters, and then the second generation, the Square Birds of 58 through 60, which I have featured, and then the Bullet Birds 61 through 63, and this is the first of the next generation, fourth generation. And for 64, you still had the option of coupe or convertible. I built this one as a convertible. The 390 engine was pretty much the only engine available in it, with a high performance time of 0 to 60 in about 11 seconds. So this was a luxury cruiser, not really a high performance barnstorming vehicle here, but it was a luxury cruiser, but it was still selling very well. The personal luxury market was heating up. There was a lot more competition coming out against the Thunderbird, but still a very, very good selling year for Thunderbird. Matter of fact, I mentioned before in my previous video that Ford couldn't build enough of them from 58 through 60, and even in 1960, the last of that body style, they broke 90,000 units. But for Thunderbird for 64, they managed to produce 92,000 units, a little over 92,000 units, which that's the high selling point. And after that, it started to dwindle down. 65 did 74,000 units, and 66 did 69,000 units, almost 70,000. This is the highest selling year of Thunderbird is the 64. So when it comes to finding them, this is the most common, which is another reason why the values really aren't there. Just not quite a very memorable car. Sold very, very well, but you know, the cars started to get really into it and compete against it, like the Grand Prix and some of those cars. Starting to really get in there, but it's not so much in 64. But the competition was definitely getting hot. So for this one, I enjoyed building it. I like my Thunderbirds, but I figured I would show you this one, as it was quite a build, a very big build process. But for 64, it's a 390 engine, which you can see right there. And then I put the Landau top on it, which there really wasn't a sports roadster like they did in 63 and 64. But AMT did provide this in their kits, and Ford actually offered these, or the aftermarket did, to add them to vehicles, to convertibles. So I think it's pretty cool. But there's the big wraparound seat. And then I did this one also in kind of an unusual color as far as what caught my attention. This is supposed to represent Florentine green, which is kind of a, as you see it here, kind of a lime metallic green. But I thought it was a really interesting color, and I decided to go with it, go with more of the luxury look to it. And I did the white interior with the white on here. But I really enjoyed this build. But this build, it's not an annual kit. This actually started off as a promo, and a pretty badly busted up promo. Well, not really badly. The roof was smashed. The pillars were broken. But it was a hardtop, and it was a friction promo. So I'm going to post a couple of photos in here, but at the end I'm going to post a lot of the build photos, because I did do a lot of work to this one to make it into what it is here. Like, this is a resin hood, and which I believe is Model Haas. The resin scoop, resin fender ornaments. Then the front bumper, which that may have been the original re-chromed. Headlights were definitely Model Haas, and hubcaps are Model Haas, and I painted the white line on the tires. Or I believe I did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did on those. And then rear bumper was re-chromed, and taillights. And then this is resin. This is Model Haas also. You can see on the bottom side, 64 to 66 T-Bird. Didn't paint the underside of this very well. I probably would have painted that white. But and then there's the full interior detailed which this is the promo interior with some bare metal foil and detail painting. Came out pretty nice. And then this piece right here, spliced in from a AMT 66 Thunderbird. So the roof parts, the convertible windshield frame and windshield, came from a 66, and so did the engine, the chassis, the entire chassis, because this was a friction promo. That's all from the 66. So I swapped all that in from the 66, which those are readily available in great parts cars with this 64. And then another thing that gives it away as a promo is this front piece here is actually from the 66, and I molded it, made it fit. The actual annual kit, this would be different. And I've got a 65 that I restored from an annual kit, and it's definitely different right here, but that's just what I built it from and how I built it. But I'm pretty happy with the way she came out, but especially considering what I started with. And a couple of things when it comes to detailing these Thunderbirds. Their convertibles are really awkward, and they do some strange things. So if you really get to know these cars, like this is all hydraulic, but the trunk on a convertible comes up this way, and the top folds into the trunk and takes up a good chunk of the trunk. So there's not a whole lot of cargo space back there when the convertible works. So the model kits have a emblem here, which should not be here. So in some of my pictures of the promo, you'll see it. It'll be there, but the convertibles don't have that. So you got to sand that off, and I did remove that. And then this section should be body color on a convertible. So I painted that body color along with this. And no convertible boot. I've actually seen people add convertible boots to these, but none of the Thunderbirds actually had a convertible boot if the top was completely stored in the trunk. Which I always thought was interesting, gave it a much more sleek look. So it makes it look like the roofs are cut off of all of these. And then this is the 390 valve cover Thunderbird. I don't remember what kit that came from. I believe it was the resin valve covers I had, so I had made molds and cast more of them to add to these, because getting the valve covers with that script is kind of unusual. So there's a close-up where you can see where it says 390 Thunderbird, which that's kind of a decal on the real cars, but it's a detail that's molded in on there. But she was quite a challenge to build. Like I mentioned, I had spliced in the windshield frame from the 66. I cut the hood completely off and used this hood. Like I said, this is 64. And 64 has the Thunderbird lettering all the way across the front. 65 has a bird emblem. And ironically, a lot of the 65 kits actually have the 64 hood. So, kind of unusual, but this is a 64 hood. And I don't have an up top for this one. I do have some up tops. The 65 kit actually came with an up top. So when I look for those and I see one, I grab it. I've gathered a few of those. The mirrors are Model Haas. It's all foiled. And it's all redone. But I like how she looks. But my goal is to get all the Thunderbirds done from 55 to 66. So I have a bunch of them. Got the 64 done. And 65 and 66 are done. I've still got to do 61 and 62. And then the 55 through 57s I got to do. But she's looking really good. And I really like that sports roadster look to it. And the fender skirts on it. These ones, the fender skirts are molded in. The 64 and 65 kits, the fender skirts are molded in. The 66 kit, the fender skirt's actually separate. So I decided when I built that one that I would leave the fender skirts off because it's a little different. But she's looking pretty good. It's got 64 molded right in the back there, and Thunderbird. And the emblems right into the actual taillights. Now 64, the taillights were not sequential. That didn't come out until 65. The plan was to make them sequential in 64, but I guess it didn't pass federal and state laws as far as getting it approved. So the sequential taillights really didn't come out until 65. So a little piece of trivia for you there. But interesting car and quite the boat. I think these are cool. I don't see too many of them around anymore. but they're just a really cool car, and a pretty easy one to build and restore, as far as, because you can usually find these, but I don't remember what I paid for it because I did this one a number of years ago now. But because I really like my Thunderbirds, of course, and this one was one of the harder ones to find, but annuals do come up. But I had gotten a good deal on a Friction Promo, so that's what this one started with. And I've got a couple others that are Friction Promos that I modify or do. One of them is a 64 Barracuda that I cut the hood open, but I didn't get very far because I needed a donor chassis for that one, and there's a lot more fitting involved in it. And then the other one is a 68 Javelin that's also a Friction Promo. But this one started off as a Friction Promo, but one of the few I've actually finished. But I figured this week I would show it to you as one of my restorations and see what you guys thought of it. And again, I do appreciate all of your views and comments, as I really feed off of them, and they motivate me, and I really do appreciate it. And I hope a lot of you guys comment and really like my videos and what I'm doing here. So I really do appreciate it. So thank you for subscribing and tuning in. And you guys, you have a wonderful Saturday, and I will see you next Saturday.